There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello, Booktube. I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here, in lieu of a Friday Reads, I'm going to do the Black History Month book tag that was originated by Books by Lanus. I know what her name is, but I don't know how to pronounce it the French way. Helene, I'll spell it. But she's a wonderful booktuber. I have been following her for years, and she brought the African writer Ngugi wa Thiong'o alive for me in one of her spellbinding tour de force review videos, which I will link in the show notes because it's very special. And she has created the Black History Month book tag, and I'm going to do it because I don't have enough to say for my Friday Reads, but I have more than my fair share of things to say about Black History Month books. Number 1, what is a book everyone should be reading during Black History Month? One fiction, one nonfiction. One of my very most favorite African-American novels that has a historical bent is The Known World by Edward P. Jones. I attempted to do a review of this book, which just touched me like almost no other novel ever has. I will put a link to my review, but just read the book. It is about slave-owning freed slaves in the American South. Unforgettable. One of the most powerful novels ever to come out of America. And even though I know that Helene doesn't agree with me on this book, for my nonfiction pick, I'm going to choose Trevor Noah's memoir, Born a Crime, and also insist that if you haven't read it, don't read it. Do it on audio. He narrates the audiobook, and it is the peak audiobook experience in a lifetime, 5 or more years of listening to audiobooks. It's the best. I think he's somewhat talented as a TV host, and his jokes are sometimes funny. He should be a full-time writer. This was a beautiful, powerful memoir about his situation, born to a white father and a black mother in apartheid South Africa. So, born a crime, because the assignation that produced him was illegal, and he was illegal, and that's how he moved to the world in the first years of life. And he writes it with so much humor and narrates it with all of the various South African accents. It's such a joyfully rambunctious story that you don't realize how much you're learning. Absolutely stunning. Number 2, which Black booktuber would you recommend watching, and why? I'm going to mention 2 that I've had the most to do with or have known the longest, but there are many others that are great that I watch. I would like to shout out Justin of Ghost Reader, who is a young man in New York that reads a lot of history. And I have done some buddy reads with him and some video collaborations, and he is a great guy, and boy, I learn a lot whenever I tune in to see what he's reading. And the other one that I've been following ever since I came onto BookTube, unfortunately he doesn't update his channel very much anymore, is Troy of Troy Towel. And he is a lovely young Black booktuber from the American South. I believe he reads a lot of mysteries, which I don't read at all, so that's how much I love his channel, that I actually watch pretty much everything he puts out. And he also talks a lot about fiction, queer fiction, written by Black authors. So he is a personal favorite, and he doesn't pop onto BookTube all that often anymore, but it's a special treat when he does. Number 3, what is your favorite book written by a Black author from an African country? I couldn't just choose one, and it was hard to narrow it down to 2. I have chosen No Violet Bulawayo's We Need New Names, a Zimbabwean novel published 4 or 5 years ago, 2016 perhaps. I always think it's more recent than it is. It was published 2013. I think it came onto my radar in around 2016. I absolutely love it. It is a debut, and there are debut flaws in the novel, but it is one of the most exciting, creative African novels out there, and I have been yearning for a second novel from No Violet Bulawayo ever since, and I was promised one. We all were, by her publisher early last year, and it never arrived. So Maybe she'll be a one-book wonder, but it's a book that is wondrous indeed. It is about a group of poor black Zimbabweans in the early Zimbabwean period that are poverty-stricken and wandering around looking for food and looking for trouble and looking for ways to survive as the society kind of crumbles around them. And then the protagonist, who is 10 years old in this first section, which is set in a Zimbabwean shantytown, gets a chance to go to America and live with some relatives there, and that's the second half of the novel, which is a little bit weaker than the first half, but it has a very special place in my heart. And I also absolutely loved Ngugi wa Thiong'o's debut novel, Weep Not Child. Originally published in 1964, and it is the quintessential post-colonial novel. I can't believe how much he packed into its 130 pages, set in Kenya, about a poor family. The Maui are revolting against the white colonialist asshole government. It touched on and explored and expressed more about post-colonial realities than anything I've ever read. It's just a masterpiece. Number 4, what is your favorite black classic? And that would be Beloved by Toni Morrison. It is her best novel, I think. I will be honest and be controversial and say I didn't like any of her other novels, but Beloved is just a masterpiece. I can still step back into it, and I read it maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago anyway. I don't need to explain it. It's a classic that most of you have read, and those of you that haven't, you need to get on that. It's one of the most powerful works of fiction about slavery. What can you say about Beloved? Number 5, which movie, book-to-movie adaptation, or documentary would you recommend watching during Black History Month? And this prompt just eludes me because I don't watch things, I just read things. I don't watch anything, really. I'll tell you what I want to watch, and that is the fairly new, I think it came out around the time of John Lewis's death, the documentary about him, John Lewis, Good Trouble, 2020. I believe it is or was on Netflix, but I don't care about movies or anything enough to subscribe to Netflix, but one of these days I will watch it because John Lewis is my hero. So anything that he's in or is about him, count me in, even if it's a movie. Number 6, what's on your TBR for Black History Month? Well, I have posted my TBR for Black History Month, and I'm not going to go through all of those. I had 6 books, maybe a couple backups. And now that I'm a third of the way into February, I'm not going to get to nearly as many books this month as I had hoped, because I bit off a bunch of really chewy novels that I'm really loving, but I'm just not going to read much more than what's on my plate now. So I'll tell you what I'm reading. I am reading Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. This 2021 debut, The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. I just started on audio yesterday, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Disha Philyaw. And there's other stuff on my TBR. I will link it in the show notes, but I may not get to anything. But all of those are excellent to varying degrees. And I will keep you in suspense until next week's Friday Reads to give you an update. But that's probably what I will get to for this year's Black History Month TBR. Number 7, this one is my favorite because this is stuff that I know that I've definitely never talked about these books on my channel yet. Which new releases by Black writers are you looking forward to the most this year? So I have 2 that I ordered. One has yet to be published. I think it's coming out in March. And the other one has very recently been published, and I just got it in the mail today. I will start with a new translated novel out of Cameroon. I believe that's where Elaine from Books by Lanus is from. Is that right? Yes, I don't know if that's where Elaine is from, but I know she has family there. And this is a newly translated work from Cameroon, A Long Way from Douala by Max Lobe, translated by Roz Schwartz. Max Lobe is a Cameroonian Swiss writer. He has been living in Switzerland since he was 18. He is now 35. A Long Way from Douala was originally published in 2018 in Switzerland and France in French. And it is concerned with issues of violence, terrorism, homosexuality, and migration. And it is definitely his first publication in English. That's all I need to know. I have already ordered my copy. It was to be published, in about 2 weeks. And that cover. And I just found out about a new series of reissued Black British novels that has been curated, can I use that trendy word, by Bernardine Evaristo. They have been reissued by Penguin, and the series is called Black Britain Writing Back. And there are 6 books that have fallen out of print, hard to find, and she has worked with Penguin to bring them back into print in very affordable softcover editions. And so far I've only ordered one, and it happened to arrive quite fortuitously in the mail today. And that is Bernard and the Cloth Monkey by Judith Bryan. Originally published in 1998, so not all that long ago, but I've been out of print for a while, I guess. Now, Judith Bryan, writer, playwright, and academic. This is her first novel, and only novel thus far, although she's done a lot of other kinds of literary things and academic things. I have to say that the back cover synopsis is so irritatingly vague that I can't begin to tell you what it's about, but I don't need to know. I just want to read it. So those 2. That is it. Thank you for the great tag, Aline. Somebody's got to teach me how to pronounce Helene in French. I know it's not Helene. That's how we would say it in English. And I am very uncomfortable trying to get my tongue around French words. I just need to tag some people. I'm going to tag Kim of Middle of the Book March, and I'm going to tag Mel of Mel's Bookland Adventures, Greg of Supposedly Fun, Troy of Troy Towel, and Justin of Ghost Reader. I think maybe Brian of Bookish has probably already been tagged, but I'll tag him just in case. Jere of Drawn to Stories, and, sorry, I still don't know her name, Coffee and Copyrights. And anybody else out there that would like to do this tag. Join in the fun. Thanks for watching.